For some people, West Torrance checks every box, but for others, it's just not quite the right fit. So I talked to some of my clients and some other locals in West Torrance and outside of West Torrance to see what are the real pros and cons of living in West Torrance. I was actually surprised by one of the cons that ended up making the list, so you're definitely going to stick around and hear that one. This is Ben Larson, the Larson Realty Group, and let's get started. So the first pro I want to talk about are the schools. They're highly rated, very desirable, similar to South Torrance, great schools, academics, athletics, involvement. So that's why a big reason, all those reasons are why they're very highly desirable. So I just want to give you kind of a breakdown here on where they are, which schools feed into the others. So let's switch over and take a look. So we're going to jump in here and take a look at the map. I'm going to show you. So here's West Torrance. We got this blue, this green, and this blue. South Torrance is below, North and Central Old Torrance, the other sections. So we're just going to look at these three for now. So first, we're going to look at, you have Anza Elementary, you have Victor Elementary, and you have Towers. So then you're leading into two middle schools, which are going to be Birtland Middle School, and then we've got Jefferson Middle School down here. And now you have Anza and Victor. Some of Victor will go to Jefferson, and some of Victor will actually go to Birtland. And then also Towers goes to Birtland Middle School. So you've got those. And then, so you've got Jefferson and Birtland as the two middle schools, and then both of those feed into West High. So you can see Towers is here. You have Birtland Middle School here. West High is kind of in the middle there, a little bit on the north side. And then Victor, Anza, and then Jefferson Middle School here. Victor and Anza are the other elementary schools. So you've got those three elementaries, two middles, and then feeding into West as a high school. So it just gives you an idea of where the schools are, which ones feed into the others, and definitely always check the scores at any given time whenever you happen to be watching this, because the scores change. But at the moment, those schools are very highly rated, and in the past, West, that district was actually a little bit lower than South. And so people always wanted to go to South, but that it's definitely caught up and it's looked at. Some people prefer to go to West, some people still prefer to go South, but the scores they're definitely on par. But again, depends on when you're watching this. So definitely always check those to just stay up on where they may be and know that it changes. But at the time I'm recording this, they are very highly rated and very desirable schools. Okay, and now moving on to pro number two, we're going to talk about the neighborhood charm. So as you can see a photo here, there's nice wide streets, mature trees. It's very walkable. People like to get out and get some exercise and walk the neighborhoods. It feels very safe, very clean. And so that's definitely a pro for a lot of people looking to move here. All right, so now we're going to get to the last pro, and it's going to be the convenient location, I like to call it. So when you're comparing this to some of the other locations we looked at, we've talked about in other videos, like South Torrance, South Redondo, Palos Verdes, this is definitely closer to the freeway. So that's going to be a lot easier to get on the freeway and commute. You can hop on the 405 pretty close to here and either head north or go south. You hit it 110, go up to the downtown. So you can get down to Orange County, you can get up to LAX or the west side of LA. So good location. That's a reason people move here. And you also are pretty close to amenities. So we've got the Del Amo Mall that's really close. Lots of shopping, lots of restaurants. So a little bit more action than you have maybe in some of the quieter areas. So you do get access to a little bit more of that. So that's definitely a pro for people that are coming here that want to have access to a little bit more amenities. All right, and so now we've heard the three pros, so we're going to get into the cons. And so the first con is going to be kind of the flip side of the last pro that I talked about. I talked about the amenities and a little bit of the lifestyle, the convenient location, and yeah, all of that is right, and you do have that. But on the flip side of that, it is like one of the other pros where it's walkable, wide streets, a lot of neighborhoods. It is a little bit quieter than some areas. Similar to what we talked about in Palos Verdes, a little bit South Torrance, you don't get as much of the nightlife, all that. You do have a little bit of, some nicer restaurants, and you get some of that at Del Amo, and a little bit here and there, but overall it's more of, a bit of a quieter, more suburban area that isn't super walkable. So you are going to end up driving or taking an Uber somewhere. So it's a little bit of a con, even though for some people that's what they prefer. They may look at that as a pro, but here I have it for someone that might be looking for a little more nightlife and a little more activity. It is a con in this case. All right, and so now we're going to get into, we've got con number 2 and 3 coming up. And these are specifically real estate related because that's what I do. But they are cons, and they are things that came up over and over when I was talking to clients and I was talking to people in the area. Sometimes even the people that bought here, it still was something that was tough, something that they dealt with trying to get in. The first one is going to be not so much, it's difficult to get in or it's tough, but just the style of homes. It's the 50s and 60s. If someone's looking for something a little bit newer, a little bit newer construction, a bigger lot, you're not going to find that as much. We get the 1950s, 1960s homes, 5,000, 6,000 square foot lots, kind of in that range. Homes, a lot of them are on the smaller side. I talked about that in my South Torrance video if you haven't checked that out. Homes can be, 1,100, 1,200 square feet, 3 beds, 1 bath, 3 beds, 1 and 3/4 baths, things like that. So I also mentioned in that video, just like here, people have remodeled, people have added on. There are bigger homes, but those are kind of the stock homes of what they were built originally. And so you still will find a lot of those and a lot of those that are original. So it is a pro, and it works for people. Plenty of people buy them and they can live in them just how they are, or expand or remodel or do that something like that over time. But overall, people that if you're looking for something more, that definitely would be a con. All right, and so this is the one I was talking about that I heard a lot, and I know of it. As a real estate agent, I deal with it all the time. But I didn't think that it was going to be one of the top 3 cons for the area, and that is the low turnover and the competition. You are dealing with a lot of competition in this area. You've got low turnover. The people get in and they don't move that often. They like it. It's a great neighborhood. People want to stay. They get their kids in early and they go through all the schools. And so they're here for a while. Eventually kids move away and then maybe people sell, but they're still here for a while. And so it's definitely one of the areas where there's very low turnover. And when homes come up, there is a lot of competition, especially if it's something desirable, something in a good area next to some of the great parks. Just things that, there is a lot of competition. So even in slower markets, though these homes in this area will sell a little quicker. And in really busy markets, you're going to have multiple offers for sure and bidding wars. And so we've seen a lot of that over the years. And that's just, it's a con for being such a pro. It's such a desirable and great area people want to get into. It actually creates a little bit of a con and a negative thing there when people are having to compete and sometimes not being able to get in or get the home initially that they wanted, and they got to keep trying and eventually get in. But it drives some people to go to other areas and end up not in West Torrance. So that's the scoop of the real pros and cons of living in West Torrance. If you want to check out any other areas, there's a video here on your screen. Go ahead and click on that. This is Ben Larson with the Larson Realty Group, and we'll catch you next time. Thanks.